Welcome back to the deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
Today we're going deep on Chewy, the big online pet supply company.
Oh, yeah. Big one.
Our listeners want to know how they're doing, financially, what decisions they're making, all that.
Right, right.
So we're diving into their Form 10Q, the one that came out October 27th, 2024.
Got it.
This report covers a pretty wild time for Chewy. I mean, they've got stock buybacks happening, a secondary offering, and of course the whole economic roller coaster is affecting how people are shopping.
Yeah, no doubt.
So first things first, how's Chewy's overall financial picture looking? Give us the big picture.
Okay, well, the thing that really jumps out is this massive jump in their net income. For the quarter, they went from a loss, actually, of $35,372,000 back in 2023 to a profit of $3,932,000 this year.
Wow.
That's like a 111.1% increase, which is huge.
Wow, that's a big swing.
Yeah, and what's even more interesting is they did this even though they have a slightly smaller number of active customers.
Wait, so less customers but more profit? How does that work?
Yeah, it seems a little counterintuitive at first.
Yeah.
But if you really dig into the numbers, what we see is Chewy's net sales for this quarter actually went up.
Okay.
A solid 4.8% increase to $2.87 billion. So what this tells me is, while they might have a few less customers overall, the ones they do have are spending more.
Oh, so people are maybe tightening their belts a little bit overall, but they're still splurging on their pets.
Exactly. Pet care is becoming more and more essential, right? And Chewy seems to be really tapping into that.
Okay.
Their report specifically talks about growth in their healthcare and specialty businesses.
Right.
Which, by the way, those are higher margin categories. So it looks like they're moving strategically towards these more premium offerings, maybe building up that customer loyalty, focusing on those higher margins.
Yeah, making smart moves with adapting to this economic climate.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's dig into these stock buybacks and the secondary offering. Seems like there's a lot happening in the background there.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts for sure.
Yeah.
So back in May of 24, Chewy's board, they authorized this share repurchase program. This basically let them buy back up to, get this, $500 million of their own stock.
Wow, that's a lot of confidence in themselves.
Right. And they wasted no time. They jumped in with agreements to repurchase a total of $800 million worth of that Class A common stock.
Okay, so they're really putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
But then there's also the secondary offering, right?
Right.
Where Buddy Chester Sub LLC, this entity, connected to Chewy's sponsors, they sold off a bunch of share.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, it's super important to highlight that Chewy, they didn't directly sell any of their shares. They didn't get any money from this offering.
Okay.
This was all Buddy Chester Sub LLC.
Got it.
Sometimes this is a way for early investors to cash out some of what they've got.
Oh, I see. So even though Chewy's not directly involved, it still kind of impacts the overall picture, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It looks like they're taking steps to maybe try to increase the value of their remaining shares.
It could be.
Now let's talk debt. Taking on debt can be a way to grow, but it also has risks, right? How are they managing that?
Right. As of October 27th, 2024, their total liabilities were $2,734,475,000.
Okay, that's a big number.
That's a big number, right? But you got to look at it in context. Their total assets were $2,957,897,000.
So they've got more assets than liabilities.
Exactly. That's a good sign, right?
Okay.
Plus, they're generating this really strong cash flow from what they're doing. That suggests they can handle the debt they've got right now.
Okay, so no major red flags with debt at this point.
Not really, no.
They're making moves to manage it. Okay, now profitability. We talked about that awesome jump in net income, but what about their overall margins? Are they actually becoming a more profitable company?
It looks like they are. Their adjusted EBITDA, which is essentially their operating profitability, it went up by a crazy 67.4%.
Wow.
Yeah, to $138.2 million in the quarter. This tells me their cost optimization efforts, particularly in their supply chain, are really starting to work.
So they're making more money on each sale they make. That's a good sign.
It is.
But how are they doing that? Are they just like cutting corners, or is it more strategic?
It's hard to say for sure from just this report, but it seems like they're being very deliberate about where they're investing and where they're streamlining.
Right.
They mention these ongoing initiatives to be more efficient with their fulfillment network, for example.
Okay.
It looks like they're finding that sweet spot between, keeping costs down but not messing with the quality of what they offer.
Right. They don't want to mess with their customer experience. That's like their big thing.
Exactly.
Okay. Now let's talk about the stuff that's making them grow. They mention, more spending from both new and existing customers. What are they actually doing to, attract new customers and keep the ones they have with all this competition?
Yeah. Chewy is known for having, amazing customer service. That's one thing that sets them apart.
Yeah.
They also have a huge selection of products, competitive prices, and those convenient features like Autoship.
Ah, yeah, the Autoship.
Yeah. Seems to be working for them.
Yeah, that Autoship seems like a kind of like a genius move, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like it guarantees they get money regularly and keeps people coming back for more.
Exactly. And they've been promoting it a lot. And they keep adding more products you can get through Autoship.
Right.
It's not just about the sales either. It's about that loyalty.
Yeah.
Keeping customers happy and coming back.
Makes total sense. Make it easy, make it convenient. That's the key.
Yeah.
Now, back to the report itself. One thing that caught my eye was how detailed those employee agreements were.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just your usual HR stuff.
Right.
Right.
You're telling me it gives you a peek into how Chewy is doing things.
Right.
Structuring that compensation and making sure they stay ahead of the competition.
Right.
We're talking about things like those, restricted stock units, those RSUs, and those performance stock units, the PSUs. But, and here's the interesting bit, they've got these clauses about detrimental activities that could make employees lose those benefits.
Detrimental activities? What's that? Like, what are we talking about?
Well, it basically outlines things that employees could do that might hurt the company.
Okay.
Like letting out confidential info or going to work for a competitor.
Right, right.
It seems like a way for Chewy to protect what they've built, their ideas and stuff, and make sure everybody's on the same page about where the company's going.
So it's like reward the people who do great work, but also got to keep the company's secrets safe.
Exactly. And there's more.
Yeah.
The report also mentions these non-compete clauses, which are pretty common in this kind of business. Basically, it means if you leave Chewy, you can't just go work for a competitor right away.
Okay.
Got to wait a while.
Makes sense. Speaking of competition, the pet industry is, exploding right now.
Oh, yeah.
How is Chewy staying ahead of everybody else with so many companies trying to get a piece of that?
Well, Chewy has a few things going for them. Well, I mean, they're huge, and everybody knows their name. That gives them a big advantage right off the bat. And they've really figured out this whole e-commerce thing.
Yeah.
From getting stuff from the warehouse to people's doorsteps to marketing, customer service, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
They're not just a pet store anymore. They're like a whole e-commerce machine.
Right, but other companies are trying to do that too, right?
Sure.
What makes Chewy different?
They're all about personalization. We talked about that data stuff and AI.
Yeah.
How they use that to tailor each person's experience. But they're also going beyond just selling pet stuff. They're getting into services like online vet appointments and filling prescriptions. It's like they want to be the only place pet owners need to go.
Yeah, smart. Create a whole world for pet owners. Okay, before we wrap up this analysis, I want to make sure we've covered all the potential risks, anything that could go wrong.
Sure.
Are there any areas where Chewy might be vulnerable?
Well, they're doing great now, but the economy is always unpredictable.
Right.
Inflation, interest rates, those things can really mess with how much people are spending. And that's something Chewy's going to have to keep an eye on.
So even though they're adapting, stuff outside their control could still throw them off course.
Definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
And then there's the competition. It just keeps getting tougher.
Yeah.
More companies are jumping into the pet industry, which could squeeze Chewy's profits and, how much of the market they control.
Right. So got to stay ahead of the game. Can't just sit back and relax.
Exactly. What about their reliance on other brands, the ones they sell but don't make themselves?
Yeah, good point. Could that be a problem?
It could, if those brands decided to sell directly to customers or team up with other retailers. It could hurt Chewy sales.
Okay.
But they're trying to get ahead of that by developing their own brands.
Right. So they have more control and probably make more money that way.
Right. And what about all the money they're putting into technology? Could that backfire if it doesn't work out how they expect?
Yeah, true.
Technology can be a great thing. It can make things more efficient, come up with new ideas, but it can also cost a fortune.
Yeah.
Chewy needs to be really smart about their tech investments, make sure it all makes sense for their business goals.
So it's a tightrope walk. Got to be innovative, but make sure it's paying off.
Right. Oh, one more thing to keep in mind, their corporate structure.
Okay.
Chewy has this dual-class stock system, which basically means the founders and early investors, they have more voting power.
So they have more control over the company than the average person who buys stock.
Exactly. Now, sometimes this can be good. It lets the company make long-term plans without worrying too much about what the stock market's doing.
Yeah.
But it also raises some questions about, how accountable they are and how transparent things are.
I see. So we've got a few potential things to watch out for. The economy, competition heating up, relying on other brands, those tech investments, and how the company is structured.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about something we touched on earlier, Chewy's move into Canada.
Oh, yeah.
How's that going?
It's definitely a big part of their growth plan. They launched it earlier this year. They see a lot of potential in Canada for pet stuff, and so far, so good.
So they're basically taking what worked in the U.S. and bringing it to Canada.
Pretty much. They got the name recognition, they know e-commerce, and they're focused on making customers happy.
Mm-hmm. But every country's different, right?
Sure.
Any challenges they're running into up north?
There's always challenges when you go to a new country, different rules, different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
But Chewy's done this before in other countries, so they've got some experience.
Right. That'll help. What about opportunities? Are Canadians digging the Chewy brand?
It seems like they are. There's definitely demand. And Chewy's spending money on marketing and getting new customers.
Okay, so Canada's looking good. Be interesting to see how much that adds to their overall growth. Now, let's get back to those private label products, the ones Chewy makes themselves.
Okay.
We know they sell tons of stuff from other brands, but they're also working on their own.
Yep.
Why is that?
Well, when you make your own stuff, you usually make more money on each sale because you're cutting out the middleman.
Right.
It also lets Chewy stand out from the crowd, create products that nobody else has, and, build up that brand loyalty.
So it's not just about making more money, it's about creating a brand that people connect with.
Exactly. And for a company like Chewy that already has a big name and loyal customers, making their own products is a natural next step.
Okay, how are they doing at actually selling those private label products? Are they just putting them out there, or is there more to it?
They're being pretty strategic about it. They're really pushing these products on their website. They've got specific email campaigns, and they're using that Autoship program to get people to buy them regularly.
Right, so they're really making sure these products do well.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about technology beyond just the data stuff. What else are they doing with tech to improve how they operate and make things better for customers?
Chewy is all about tech. They're constantly coming up with new ways to use it to make things more efficient, personalize that customer experience, and stay ahead of the curve.
Can you give us some examples?
Sure. Take their fulfillment network, for example. They've got these crazy algorithms and automated systems that make sure everything runs smoothly in the warehouses, processing orders and shipping.
So they're using tech to get those orders out the door faster and cheaper.
Exactly. They're also using AI for things like their customer service chatbots and giving personalized product recommendations.
Wow, so AI is actually talking to customers.
Yeah, it's becoming really common in online shopping. It lets companies handle tons of customer questions and give personalized help without needing a huge team.
Sounds like they're creating a really smooth and fun shopping experience using all this tech. Okay, we've covered how Chewy's doing financially, the decisions they're making, expanding into new places, and all the tech they're using. But one last thing I want to talk about. Competition.
Right.
How are they going to stay on top in this crazy pet industry?
Yeah, it's a tough one. But Chewy has some advantages. They're huge, everybody knows their name, and they've built up this loyal customer base over the years. They also really get the whole online pet market they've been doing for a while.
Right, that's a big deal. New companies can't just copy that kind of recognition and trust.
Exactly. But they also have to stand out from all the other companies trying to get their piece of the pet spending pie, right?
Yeah, so how are they doing that?
We talk about personalization, but remember how they're expanding beyond just selling things?
Yeah, the vet appointments and stuff.
Right, it's like they want to be the only place pet owners need to go for everything.
So they're creating this whole ecosystem for pet owners, and once people are in, they're likely to stay.
Exactly. That's a really powerful way to stand out in a crowded market.
Okay, so Chewy's using its strength, focusing on giving people that individual experience and offering more than just products to stay ahead of the competition. But before we move on to the final part of our discussion, are there any other risks or things we should be worried about?
We've talked about a few already, but one more thing to think about is that they're really focused on just one market, the U.S.
Oh, yeah, true.
Almost all of Chewy's money comes from there.
So if the U.S. economy takes a hit or people just stop spending as much, they're in trouble.
Yeah, pretty much. That's why moving into Canada is such a big deal for them.
Right. Got to spread the risk.
Exactly. So, to sum it all up, Chewy's doing some really interesting things, but there are definitely challenges out there. The economy, competition, that uncertainty is always hanging around. But they're also making smart choices to deal with those challenges.
Yeah, like we talked about.
Going international, using technology, building their own brands.
Right. Staying flexible.
Exactly. It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Now, taking a step back for a second, Chewy's success really shows how much the pet industry is changing, doesn't it? People are treating their pets like family now more than ever.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And they're willing to spend more on the good stuff, premium food, special health care, all that.
Absolutely. We're definitely seeing this trend of, humanizing pets, and that's driving all this demand for, well, pretty much everything pet-related.
Yeah.
And Chewy's right in the middle of it all. They've got all these products and services that cater to exactly what these pet parents are looking for.
So they're not just reacting to what's happening. They're actually shaping the market, figuring out what people want, and giving it to them.
Right, and that focus they have on customer service, making things personal, making things easy, it fits perfectly with this whole trend.
Yeah, they're making it a really enjoyable experience for people who want to give their pets the best.
They are. It's like they're creating this whole world for pet parents.
Right. One place where they can find everything they need and feel good about the choices they're making.
That's a great way to put it. And that approach, creating that whole ecosystem, that's what really sets Chewy apart. They're not just selling stuff. They're like a trusted friend helping pet parents through every stage.
Now let's look ahead. What big trends do you see coming down the road for the pet industry? And how's Chewy positioned to take advantage of them?
One huge trend is technology. It's changing how we take care of our pets.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
We're talking smart devices for pets, telemedicine for pets. It's crazy.
It's wild how technology is changing everything, even our pets' lives.
And Chewy's right there at the forefront, investing in their own tech and partnering with companies that are coming up with all this innovative stuff.
So they're embracing the tech revolution. What about sustainability?
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
People are thinking more and more about the environment, and that includes the stuff they buy for their pets.
Definitely. Sustainability is a growing concern, and Chewy's responding by offering more eco-friendly and ethically sourced products.
Okay.
They're also working with their suppliers to make sure everyone's following responsible practices.
So they're in tune with what their customers care about. That's smart.
It is. People want to support companies that share their values.
Okay, last question. Chewy's been killing it online, but do you think they'll ever open actual stores?
That's a good question. There's been some talk about it, maybe opening some brick-and-mortar stores down the line. It would be a big change for them, but it could help them reach more people and give them more control over how people experience the brand.
Yeah, but then they'd be going head-to-head with those big pet store chains.
True. It would be a bold move.
It would, but if anyone can do it, Chewy probably can.
Right. They're not afraid to shake things up.
Okay, so much to keep an eye on with Chewy. As we wrap up this deep dive, what should our listener be watching for in the coming months and years as Chewy keeps going?
Chewy's at a really interesting point right now. They've done amazing things, but there are new challenges popping up all the time. How will they adapt, how to use technology, and those moves they make into healthcare and expanding globally, those are going to be key.
Okay, great insights. Thanks for joining me on this Chewy deep dive. It's been a really interesting conversation.
My pleasure. It's always fun to look at companies that change in the game.
And that's it for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.